Right, it's a little video just to go over this fault code here, P02A00028, cylinder 2 injector restricted. Now, this has been causing some quite heavy problems with places this thing's been, because obviously people have looked at that fault code, and like most people would think there's an injector. So it's had an injector, it's had all 4 replaced, it's had this, that and the other, still runs poorly, misfiring, etc, etc, etc. Now, this is a 2.4 transit rear wheel drive engine, and as you can see, it's practically brand new. You know, the oil in it is still clean, and anyone who knows these engines, they don't stay out for very long. So, you know, it's had, you know, the works done on it. It's from a reputable company. I've used these engines before and they've had any problems, so obviously trying to find the problem. It's been, say, obviously people are trying to sort of think, well, maybe it's ECU, maybe it's obviously wiring faults, etc, etc. Nobody could find anything wrong with it, so got it in to look at. Now, first thing we've done when it's come in is done a compression test on this engine to see. I know obviously it's a brand new reconned engine, but you just never know with what's happened with these when they get built, etc, etc. You know, you've got to cover your bases, and you've got to start with the basics really. So cylinder 1, 2, 3 and 4 now. Done a compression test on this engine. Obviously cylinder number 1 you can see is quite oily, but the compression in this cylinder was around about where to be expected, 320, 350 bar, something along them lines. Cylinder 2, very oily inside the cylinder, and this one was down on compression by about 70, 80 psi, I suppose, compared to the rest. So number 3, you can see it's just sooty, so that's a decent running cylinder really. Number 4 has got, say, some more vapour as well. So all in all, the cause of this fault code being the injector restriction is actually to do with the cylinder being low on compression in that cylinder, considering we had no other faults with any of these 3. I know there's obviously a little bit of oil vapour, but you know, it's a fresh engine, the rings and things might not be sealing properly, etc. So, but this cylinder, there was clearly something wrong with this cylinder. It's burning oil, you see, you know, the oil vapour is burning oil, and it's throwing this fault code up. So obviously spoke to the customer, we've replaced the engine itself now with another engine, another reconned engine, and it's solved the problem completely. So just shows you sometimes that, you know, what we're reading here, it's not always the case. You know, it's obviously throwing up an error. It's saying cylinder 2, which fair enough, you know, cylinder 2 is the problem. However, it's nothing to do with a fuel restriction like you would normally believe by reading that. So if you do get this fault code on these engines, it's definitely worth just doing a compression test on the engines, you know, on the cylinders, sorry, just to see where you're at, because this one was definitely down compared to the other 3. And that was our problem. New engine in, the compression tested before it went in just to be sure. All 4 were balanced and problem solved. So obviously I've read a few things about this fault code, and obviously people have been changing God knows what to try and fix this problem, spending all their money. I mean, this wasn't cheap obviously, but you know, you could do without changing injectors and pumps and God knows what else, to try and get to the bottom of this. So yeah, if you get this fault code, do a compression test on it first, see where you're at, and if you are down, it's probably 95% chance that that's where your problem's going to lie. So I hope that helps someone going forward, because this has caused a lot of problems for a few places before it's come here, and even to be fair, it caused us a few issues to look to try and find the problem before, you know, changing the engine out really, and not being funny. But if you've got a fault code like this, you wouldn't expect for a minute to be replacing the entire engine, especially after it's just been put in. So, you know, get that fault code, do a compression test. Hope it helps someone going forward.